please go ahead and download those. Sometimes it takes a little bit of time to download, and I don't want people to be stuck without it. So they're there for you to download. So this is Digital Literacy and Safety for Adults. I want to tell you that this workshop was developed by my experiences, and I'm taking all my experiences that have been very negative and teaching you about them so that you can have a positive internet experience. So let me tell you a little bit about myself. I'm sorry this slide doesn't look very nice. It looks fine in my PowerPoint. I'm an author. I'm a Google certified innovator. I am a Remind certified educator, a Kahoot ambassador, and a Quizlet ambassador, and I've been teaching ESL for almost 30 years. I'm passionate about teaching, and I'm passionate about using the internet, and so every time I have found myself in a situation that I've been compromised in, I've learned how to fix it, and that's what I'm here to share with you today. So the first thing we're going to do is look at some vocabulary words. So let us know what you know about these words. We have farming, smishing, spamming, and phishing. Go ahead and give a little vote there about whether you're familiar with these terms or not. So it looks like a lot of people are familiar with phishing and spamming, but not so with smishing and farming. So that's good. Okay, we'll be reviewing all of those. Penny says that's a lot of ishing. We'll be reviewing all of those, and hopefully you'll learn something. Even if you are familiar with it, you might be learning something that you don't know. So from here, I'm going to share my computer screen. And I'm going to share my, okay. So I know that you're familiar with the word spam, and I know you know what this spam is, but actually the reason why we call it spamming, is because of a Monty Python YouTube video, which you're not going to be able to see here, but I'm going to take you to it. I recommend that you watch this video on your own. It's not only is it humorous and funny, but it will also show you exactly why we use the word spam. Exactly why we use the word spam, because this word for the internet came from this particular episode of Monty Python, and that will be put in the somewhere for you to look at in the archive. So spamming is when you get unwanted internet messages from email, and this used to be the biggest problem on the internet. Now it's like a really small problem. Almost all email programs now have spam folders where they automatically put spam messages in. So this has become less of a problem. It is one of the older internet problems. And hopefully you know where your spam folder is, and you know how to open up your spam folder and check it, because every day you'll find that some of your messages will be put into spam automatically, and you won't get the message if it's an important message. So you need to check that folder. So that's spam. Now we're going to go on to the next one, which is phishing. Phishing comes from the word fishing, and it's where thieves fish for your data. So if you think about it that way, it's that they're throwing out bait, and you are the ones who are taking the bait. Now I'm going to go to my hard drive so I can show you this in a bigger PDF. Okay, so these are the kinds of things you want to look for when you're looking for an email, a phishing email, is that this says it's coming from the web desk, help desk, but then the email is from Earthlink, and it's got some strange letters and numbers there that is very different from the senders. So when you reply to it, you're replying to this person, not to your web desk. The web desk you'll see is an edu, and then this is an Earthlink. Another thing is that you will see the subject contains an exclamation point. So that would be an indication that most people do not put an exclamation point in the subject of their message. The one that most of us, if you're an English teacher, always looks at is poor grammar, overuse of capitalization. Whenever you're asked to provide account information, never do that on an email. And if they're going to tell you that they're going to get rid of your account or anything that sounds like a command or threat, no company would ever do that to you. So if it sounds like a threat, it's probably phishing. So you don't want to reply to this email, because if this is your bait, and if you reply to this email, you will then be compromised. And then oftentimes you'll see an odd-looking signature or footer and no contact information. So these are the kinds of things that you want to look for that indicate that you're being phished and you are bait. Okay, so let's go back to the PowerPoint. And if you have any questions, go ahead and type them in the chat box. I see there's one chat in there. Oh, okay, great. Penny put in the link for the Monty Python video. If you have any questions, go ahead and type them in at any time. I want to always answer your questions. I'm going to try and make this as interactive as possible, but it is a very deep subject. Okay, so phishing is they send out bait, you get the bait. One of the things that you need to remember is you should never give out your bank details, passwords, or email via email. I don't care who you think you're writing to. Nobody should ever ask you for that information via email. And the most important thing is never believe that you have received enormous wealth or that a good friend of yours is traveling and out of money, because that is not the way you would find out this information. So all of that is going to be a phishing. All right, we're going to go on to farming now. And farming is, of course, taken from the word farming. And this is where you automatically are redirected to another website without your knowledge. And this is a little bit harder to fix because with phishing, they're sending out bait and you have to take the bait. But with farming, you're being redirected sometimes without even your knowledge. So let me take you to a farming example. Now, this isn't the greatest one, but this was an email from UPS. I assumed. And it said here, there was a parcel sent to your home address. So I'm going to think of a few things. Number one, most likely I didn't have a parcel. These don't ever come when you actually have something coming. And then it says, more information and the tracking number are attached in document below. And I have been the victim of this where I don't think, and I just click on the link because I think that there really is some more information in the tracking number. This is when you are going to get redirected to another website. And once you have done that, you're done for. So really, before you click on any attachment in an email, think very carefully on what you are doing. And think if something is possible, it's not yours. If it's possible, it's something you haven't done, don't do it. Yeah, the other day, and I don't have this email to share with you, I got an email from iTunes that said I had spent $44 on Netflix. And then it said, if you don't agree with this, click on the attachment below. And I had to stop and think about it. I didn't click on it, but I was going to. And so even though I'm doing this workshop, I can still be a victim, so you have to be very careful about it. All right, so back to the PowerPoint. So you want to make sure to protect yourself. You want to check the URL before inputting your personal information. Bogus websites will have slightly different addresses. And sometimes, like, you type in a wrong address, like PayPal or iTunes or Apple, you'll actually come up to a website that might look like it's PayPal or Apple, but it's not because there's something wrong with the URL. So always, before you put in any private information, make sure you check the website and make sure it's the exact website you want to be at. Bogus websites will have slightly different addresses, but pretty much they'll have a lot of the same URL. Anything anything where you're going to shop or do banking, you want to make sure that you have an encrypted website. And what encrypted means is that the HTTP has an S after it. That's a security. So all bank, shopping sites, and webmail will be encrypted. If you look at the top, I don't know if you can see this, on the top of my URL here, you'll see that it's in Google Docs, but it also is an HTTPS, and that means it's encrypted. So you want to check for that S and make sure it's there. And I have this little slide here that shows you, I never knew this, that there was a color coding of a traffic light on websites to let you know whether you're secure or safe. And if you look, you'll see that right now on my browser, if you can see there, it's green and it says secure HTTPS. That's all in green. That means I can go. Sometimes you'll get a yellow, and I'm sure you've seen this before, the little lock with a yellow triangle. That's your caution light to be careful that there's something that's not secure. Sometimes you have made something that you're sending to yourself and it may not be secure, but that you know it's you. But if you get this from somebody else, you want to be really careful. And of course, the red, that means you've done something wrong. So if you get something red, Google will tell you, they'll have a little, see in the top left corner of the browser window, there's a green lock right now. If I'm in a bad site, it'll be a red lock. Make sure that you are secure with your HTTPS, or if you're in your bank, that you have a VeriSign trusted, and you're okay then if you see that. Shop away. So I didn't know this about Google, that they actually protect you with the red, yellow, and green light. Okay, so here I am going to take you to this is a PayPal email that I got, and I want to know what you think, whether you think this is smishing or fishing or farming. Sorry, fishing or farming. Go ahead and put in the chat box whether you think this is fishing or farming and why. Oh, you guys are good. Everybody says it's farming, and that's correct. Yeah, and if you go there, you are going to be giving them they're going to ask you for information, and you're going to be compromised. Oh, Diana said fishing. So fishing, they're throwing out your bait, and so yeah, there's a link to click on, but you're not actually taking the bait unless you actually put in your information. Okay, so I have one more for you. Oh, that's not it. Okay, this is it. Oh, that's no. We already did that. Okay. So I already went over that with you. So we're not going to do that. Okay. So here we're going to go now to smishing. And I don't know if you've heard of smishing before, but I know you've seen these on your cell phones where you got one of these, you won last month, click on the link and enter your winning code. In this case, it's 1122 to claim your free $1,000 Best Buy gift card. Have you had that in your phone before? Have you received a message similar to that? This is now called smishing. Oh, Joyce, you're lucky. So you want to be careful because these kinds of messages are now coming on your phone, and you can compromise yourself that way as well. Right, smishing, it refers to SMS text messaging spam. So those are the three words. We have smishing, farming, and fishing. And just remember, fishing is they throw you bait, you take the bait. Farming is they redirect you. And smishing is on your cell phone. And then there's spam, but I think most people know about spam because it's been around for a while. But be sure to watch that video on spam. All right, so then I'm going to go into a bigger topic, which is Wi-Fi. Now, everybody loves free Wi-Fi, but free Wi-Fi is very dangerous. And I'm going to tell you that I have been hacked in Starbucks numerous times. And that is because I feel like even though I go to my account and I don't have to type in my password, quite often they can see everything you're doing on your computer screen. There are hackers all over the place. So I now have my own Wi-Fi hotspot, which I bought so that I don't have to use free Wi-Fi anymore. So I would suggest not using free Wi-Fi. However, if you must use free Wi-Fi, what you need to do is be very careful about what you're doing on that Wi-Fi. And just remember that public Wi-Fi is public. It's like it's like a party phone. That's what I want to say. Remember, we're all old enough to know about party phones, I think. Remember when you used to have a party phone, you'd pick up the phone and you'd hear all these people talking on it? Yes, a party line. That is what public Wi-Fi is, essentially a party line. So anybody can hack into your system. You don't need to be expert at it. Students can do it. It's very easy. So then a lot of people think, well, this is like, forget it. I don't want to be on the internet. Why should I be on the internet? If I'm on the internet, people are going to hack into me. This is true. You could get hacked into when you're on the internet. But if you don't have any online presence, you're in more trouble than if you do. Because if everybody has public information. All public information is on the internet. You cannot stop that public information. If you prefer to stay off the internet so that you have no online presence, so you can't get hacked into, when people Google you, the only thing that they will see about you is your salary. Now, if you've got an online presence, you won't have that problem because you'll have other stuff people look at. The salary will be at the bottom and nobody will ever get down there. So I'm going to teach you how to manage your online presence and find out what your online presence is.
Susan?
So yes.
We have a couple questions regarding
Okay.
Wi-Fi.
Okay.
Let me ask, what do you think about using your personal mobile phone as a hotspot?
That's fine as long as you have enough data to do that. Yeah.
Okay, and then we have another participant who asks, which hotspot do you recommend to buy?
Well, the one that I bought is low cost, and it's Blair. What was the name of it again? Blair's on here. I found it for Blair. It's US Connects, I think. It's through let me find it for you right now. I'm going to find out. I'm going to show you the one that I have. I don't know if they sell directly to the public. I do know they sell to students and teachers of community colleges, but I think if you tell them you're an educator, you should be able to get this offer.
Blair typed in mobilecitizen.org. Is that
Yeah, yeah, that's it. And the one that I have is 30 gigabytes for $20. And I use it in Big Bear to watch movies. So it's fast enough. So this is the link to that page. Should I cut and paste that into the chat box?
Blair already did.
Oh, perfect. So this is the one that I've been using, and I have had no problem with it. It connects everywhere, basically, except when signals, like in hotels, sometimes they jam the signal. Then you won't be able to connect. When I'm home, now Wi-Fi, the way Wi-Fi works, it's on a channel, just like your shortwave radio used to work. So when I'm at my house, my Wi-Fi channel and my hotspot channel are on the same channel. So I have to turn off my hotspot when I walk in the house, but that's the only thing I have to do. Everywhere else it works perfectly. And I use it in Starbucks. I sometimes use it in school. And get this, 10 people can hook up to it. So I can put 10 students on my mobile hotspot with me if I want. And you get 30 gigabytes, which I've never used. So I really recommend it. Okay, so any other questions, or shall I go on to managing? Because this is kind of a different topic. If we have any questions, other questions about Wi-Fi or smishing or farming, it's a good time to ask it.
Yeah, at the moment there are no other questions.
Okay, so we're going to talk about managing your online presence. So the one thing you want to do is, I've already described, you need to have one of these things, and you need to have it say what you want it to say. So just so you know, I'm a Google innovator, and so Google is my go-to tool, so everything I do is on Google, so I'm going to only talk a lot about Google. But there are other search engines that you can manage your presence on in the same manner, but I've only done it with Google. So I don't know if you guys know, there's 3 different ways you can search. When you search yourself, you can't be logged into any accounts, because if you search yourself logged into any of your accounts, it's searching, it knows that you're logged in, and it searches you thinking it's you. But you want to see what other people see about you. So you need to search privately. And there are 3 ways. Each browser has their own way to do that. On Chrome, you go incognito, and I'll show you that. On Firefox, you go private. And I cannot show you this one because I'm not on a Windows machine, but on Edge, you go in a new private window. Okay, you go more and new private window. But let me show you. Here's the Google. And let me go to a new web page here. And we're going to go over here to the hamburger, the 3 dots. And you're going to see here, new incognito window. So you're going to click on that. And, do this if you can while you're following me. And now I'm in incognito. So now I can Google myself. And I'll see what other people see about me. And yes, I meant Susan Gear. Okay, so this is what we get. This is something I have crafted. I want people to see my mobile web. I want them to see my LinkedIn. I have it in kind of the order that I want people to see. And then there's other stuff about me. And then there's my pictures, and I'm always okay with these pictures. I want to make sure that my book series is up there. So this is this is the first page of my 300,000 results. Now, if you're not on the internet very much, you're not going to have 300,000 results. But if I go to the very bottom of the 300,000 results, I will see my salary, which I don't want anybody to see. So this is what you do, and you're going to Google yourself. So everybody go ahead, Google yourself, and make sure you see what you like. If you see something you don't like, you're going to have to change it, and I'll show you how to do that. But you have to let me know what it is you don't like first. It takes 3 weeks to make a change to your Google. Google goes through the internet every 3 weeks, and so if you make changes, it won't pick it up for 3 weeks. So just be aware of that it will take 3 weeks to make the change. So go ahead and Google yourself and let me know if you are satisfied with what you see. Make sure you use the incognito window. And if you're on Firefox, let me show you Firefox. This is Firefox. What did I say we were looking for in Firefox? We are looking for private on Firefox. So it should be over here. Now they have a different style hamburger. And then here's my private window for Firefox. So let's see if I end up with the same information. Hopefully you are all Googling yourself right now. Oh, look, this has different stuff. Of course, I'm on Yahoo, so it's different stuff, but I'm still very happy with it. I don't mind people seeing me. I'm really happy to see that this photo is branding myself, showing up quite a bit. Well, Penny, your name is kind of common. So it might be that you're looking at another person. That's another thing. Common names don't. You kind of have to make sure you're getting the right name in there. So yeah, you might find other people in there. But it would be good if there was a way for you. See, my name's not very common. There's only one other Susan Gear I know of, and she lives in Washington, and she's a lawyer. But she's been showing up less and less. Here she is. Susan Gear, W., Washington Superior Court Profile and Biography. I think the more I'm on the internet, the less she actually shows up. So the point I'm trying to make here is being on the internet is actually making you safer than not being on the internet. And kind of people don't think that's true when you hear all the stuff I'm talking about, but it really is true, because the more you have up there, the less the bad stuff of other people will show up. So I'll wait a minute to see if there's any questions coming up. Did everybody find some nice stuff about themselves? Did anybody find something they don't like? And please make sure you're doing the private or incognito, because otherwise you're just seeing what you want to see. So that must be your double, Joyce. You have an artist in Waterloo, and I think the more online you are, and the less online that person is, the more your stuff is going to show up first. The stuff that you want to show up. So I would recommend that you check your presence like every month and see that it has what you want. One day I was doing this, I was checking my presence, and I found out that my website was hacked. And which one are E.F. Strauss, which one are you, the older or the younger? I shouldn't ask that question. But you might want to be online more, and then more of you will show up. So the more you're online, the more likely your stuff is going to be the one that shows up. Oh, that's funny. Well, then you need to get your picture on there. So you need to put some photos up. And I'm going to actually, that's a beautiful segue to what I'm going to talk to next, is how to enhance your online presence. So I got this from the book from Guy Kawasaki, who, by the way, also owns Canva. And it's a really good book. If you really want to enhance your presence online, so that enhancing your presence will only make you safer, you would want to follow some of the rules. So the first thing he talks about is to brand yourself. Make a picture that is you, and don't change it. Sometimes on Facebook, people change their picture like every week or every day or every month. You really want to brand yourself. So your picture validates who you are. So you should use a professional picture of you, or an animated picture of you that looks professional. And that should be a picture that you use all the time. And that's why I was very pleased to see on the Yahoo search that the pictures that were showing up are outnumbering. The one picture that I want to brand myself is outnumbering my other pictures. This has been a long time coming. Before it has a variety of pictures, but now I actually see that I'm branding myself because more of my professional picture is showing up. And it takes time. It won't happen overnight. The next thing is, and people don't always do this, is you should use your real name, because you want to be able to make your presence so when people research you, they find you. If you use another name on the internet, it's going to mix up your presence really bad. And the last thing is, let me go back here. You want to have, even if you don't have a website or a blog, you need to have an About Me page. And this is a page that will show up on the internet that will tell about who you are. And they're very easy to make. He said it takes 15 minutes. Maybe it took me 20 minutes. Let me show you this. I made this just to show you that it's very easy to do. I did this on Wix. There's Weebly. There's all kinds of free websites where you can make an About Me page. So that eventually, after a few weeks of this page being out there, it will also show up. And so here's my About Me page. And I have all so the information that I want people to know is all up here. This is the information that I want people to know, not other people can find out about me. So you can do this on Wix. It's free. The other one that you can use is Weebly. So maybe I should put in the chat pod the two websites that you can use. Wix. Is it Wix.com? And Weebly.com. Both of those are free and easy to use. You can also use Google Sites. And make an About Me page. So This is my About Me page. Took 20 minutes because I added photos and such. But it's pretty, they actually have, Wix actually has a, oh, I'm sorry about my dog. I think it must be the mailman. Just bear with me for a second. Okay, I think he's done. I think, and you can put in your LinkedIn, your Facebook, everything can be there so that you can find, I think in a few weeks you're going to see this popping up when you do a search for me. So, yeah, I would recommend doing that. Okay, so go ahead and get your About Me page and put it somewhere. The other thing is, he says, you need to tell your story. And an image is the best way to tell a story about who you are. And of course, because he owns Canva, that's what he's advertising. But there are lots of, Canva is very easy to use. The URL for that is canva.com. Let me put that in the chat box for you. And it will allow you to make a cover image that will tell your story. And what story you want to tell about who you are and what you do, that's the story you have to tell. And you want to be consistent, use the same image, and brand yourself. That's any questions about that? I would really recommend that book if you're wanting to get into more social media. No questions? Questions, please. Okay, I'll go on. Oh, somebody's typing there, so maybe there's going to be a question coming. But if not, I'll just go to the next slide. Okay.
I think they were just leaning on the keyboard.
Okay. So, this is something I learned recently. If you're using the Chrome browser, it's very possible that you are saving your passwords. If you get onto your website or your email without putting in your password or your username, it's very possible that you're saving your passwords in the Chrome browser. And let me go to the PDF for this one so you can actually see what I'm going to explain to you better. Here we go. Okay, so what happened to us is Branka and I used Branka's computer and I logged into my Gmail account. And for whatever reason, somehow our accounts got merged. And this is one of the most dangerous things that has ever happened to me and Branka, and this is why I'm sharing this with you. You cannot see it here because we have not, if you click this little I, you will see her passwords. Now, I had all her passwords. I don't know whose Chase account this was, but you can see our accounts are like mixed together. This is a lot of Branka, but here I am. So actually what happened is our two accounts got totally merged, and then we were able to see each other's passwords for everything. Branka said we had 3 Chase accounts. and all we had to do was click this I, and all of those dots turned into passwords. So I am going to show you what you need to do not to have this happen, because thank goodness it was a good friend of mine, because it was like, it was the scariest thing that's happened to me in a long time. So number one thing that you don't want to do is you don't want to save your passwords. So I have a screenshot here for you. So what you want to do is, and you should probably do this right now, follow along with me and go ahead and do this. You want to go to passwords.google.com. And I will take you there just so you can see I'm now a clean person. But I wasn't too long ago. Passwords.google.com. And as you can see, every single time I have to log on to my account, because I'm not saving anything anymore. I'll talk about that in a minute. And then after I log on here, I have to go to my cell phone. This is called two-step verification. This is the way to protect yourself. So I have to have not only my account information, but I also have to have my phone to get logged on. And this is for all my accounts. Now, as you can see, I have the smart lock for passwords turned off, and I have the auto sign-in turned off. I really recommend that you do this because this was what will save you. So again, it's passwords.google.com. Go there and turn those things off. And just remember that you're going to have to sign in every single time. And although it takes time to do that, it is the safer way for you to do it as long as you're not on public Wi-Fi. So you want to make sure that your smart lock is turned off, that your auto sign-in is turned off, and this should be empty where it says save passwords. Right, a long list under never save passwords is a good thing. But under save passwords, you don't want to have anything. So you can see how clean mine is right now. And even though my list under never save passwords isn't long, it's because I keep cleaning. I go here now. So I have a monthly maintenance process that I go through, and one of my monthly things that I do now is I go into here every month to check to make sure that I'm clean. This is called being clean. And I would suggest that you fix that right now while we're talking about it. Okay, then I'm going to move into, and I think some of you may already know about this, when you sign on to Google, many times you might forget to sign off, or you may have gone into a computer and found somebody else's Google account on the computer that you're using. That's because the person forgot to sign out. So one of the things, and I think Blair taught me this, is if you click on this little button at the bottom of your email that says details, and I'll take you there to show you that too. So I'm going to go to my email. And I'm going to go all the way down to the bottom here. Hopefully. Here we go. Let's see if I can do it this way. Okay, all the way down the bottom, I see this word that says details. So I click on details. And this will give you the option to sign out of all your other web sessions except for the one that you're currently in. And not only that, it will show you where you are signed in and how you were signed in and what time you were signed in and how many minutes ago you were signed in. So you can see that I'm into Firefox, Chrome, and all of this is today, so I'm pretty good. But I still would click on this sign out all other web sessions. And now I signed out of everyone except for the one I'm in. You still need to log out of the one you're in, but at least you're signed out of everything. And sometimes, before I knew about this, I would see that I was signed into computers at work, I was signed into my office, I was signed into the library, I forget to sign out, signed in at a local computer somewhere. It was terrible. So just, you can go here and you can sign out of everything all at once, and now I'm all signed out and clean. Okay, so now, so I think we've covered this page, and okay, so now we're going to talk about making passwords safe. So, passwords are the way of life. You can't get away from using passwords. And you have to make passwords that are memorable, but they can't be easy to identify, and you can't use them forever, because if you do that, somebody's going to find them out sometime. So what makes a password safe is that it's at least 8 characters long. It must not contain easily guessed information such as your birth date, phone number, spouse's name, pet's name, kid's name, logon name, etc. And it shouldn't contain words found in the dictionary, because that's a way somebody can figure out what your password is. It should contain special characters such as, and there they are, you've seen them all before, and it should use a variation of upper and lower case letters. And a lot of times now, passwords prompt you to make these kinds of adjustments. But making a password safe does not make it memorable. So in order for you to be able to use your password, it needs to be memorable. So some of the things that you can do, and I do this now, my new process is every month I change my passwords, and I change them all at the same time, and I always use one password for a month, and then I change it. And then I use another password for a month, and then I change it. And I use different methods for making my password. But some of the ideas that you could use is to use a favorite book that you can remember, to play around with the vowels. And if you look down here, you can see a sentence that I made, but it's got numbers and letters together. So it's easy for me to remember, but hard for somebody to get. Another thing you can do is reverse words. Thank you, Melinda. Yes, it's I Love School. You can reverse words. Can you figure out what my reverse word is there? Anyone? Right, it's Susan Gare backwards, which isn't a really good idea to use because it's my name, but just for an example, you can use any word. And then you can also add spaces or underscores. And there are some places here which I put on the PowerPoint where you can actually see how secure your password is. But no matter how secure your password is, if you don't change it regularly, it's no longer secure. So it's really important that you change your password at least once a month, or whatever you decide. But I just go through, you know how it says reset my password or I forgot my password. Every month on a certain day, I just go and just change them all. And then I'm always using them to log in because I'm not saving them anymore, and that helps me remember as well. So any questions about that? Because I'm about ready to move on to the a different part of the workshop, and I would like to make sure there's no questions yet. I'm going to give you a few minutes to write a question. Yes, Melinda, you can do it every 3 months, but I just do it every month. It's easier. Otherwise, I have to remember when is it 3 months. I do it on the same day every month. So I'm about ready to move on to a more challenging part of this presentation because I'm ready to show you about the settings on your phone. And in order for that to happen, I need to pop my phone up here. Which I was able to do flawlessly yesterday. Okay. So I believe my phone will connect. Okay, I think I have to be on Wi-Fi. So I had my account. I was plugged into the hard wire, and I think I have to be on Wi-Fi for this to work. So let me try again, see if it's going to pop up here. I don't know why it's using an ad. I do have Visor Pro. Of course, this absolutely worked flawlessly yesterday. I don't see that happening today. Nope. Okay, we'll go on to the iPad then. Okay, so let me try doing this with the iPad. Let me see if this is going to work this way. Hold on. Oh, very good. We're there. Okay. All right, so this is my phone. And we are now going to work on, I want to talk to you about the settings on your phone. Now, can you tell me whether you guys have an Android phone or an iPhone? Go ahead and just type in the chat box what kind of phone you're working with. iPhone, Android. Because what I think I'm going to do is show you both, because it seems like it's 50-50. There's more iPhones than Android. But you should know both, because you will have students who will have one or the other phones. So I'm going to go through the settings and show you some of the things that you want to fix on your phone so that your phone can be as safe and secure as possible. So let me go into my settings first. I'll do the iPhone next, okay, because I've already got this phone hooked up.
Susan?
Yes?
Melinda asks, are tablets the same setting? Does tablets have the same settings as the phone?
Well, we will find out, because I don't have an iPhone. I only have a tablet. So she'll let me know as we're going through it. Good question. Okay, so this is the settings of your phone, which is really good to know about. And you can always do your more button, but I don't do that very often. So, so here, I'm going to show you just what you have here. The first thing to look at is about your phone. People don't always know what kinds of information they have about their phone. This will tell you your what kind of model you have. If you're going to ask for support on your phone, you need this, what version of Android you have. That's really important, what system version you have. And you also want to know your build number. That is what they will need in troubleshooting when you want to get help on your phone. So this is good to know, this information about your phone, and it's always here in the About Your Phone, which is generally at the very bottom of your phone. The other thing that's important to understand about is your battery. So if you go to your battery, you get a whole bunch of information about your battery here. You can see how many hours you have. I have 2 hours left without charging it. It's 61% charged. My battery saver is off. I can turn it on automatically. And then you can see what percentage of my apps are using my battery on my phone. So like my screen is taking up 27%. So if I wanted to turn that down, I could turn the brightness down on my screen here. And that would help me save some battery life. I'm looking for, oh, here's my brightness. Probably if I turn this down, you will not see it as well, but it should definitely eventually change my settings here. So you can see what's taking up a lot of your battery and how long your battery is going to be left. And I can see that I have 2 hours left on this charge if I use it. So that's always good to know. Now let me turn the brightness back up so we can see it. So here I'm just going to turn the brightness back up and go back to the settings. And then we're going to do this on the iPhone in just a moment. If you have an Android, I hope you're following along. Here you can see how much memory you have in your phone and how much you're used. If you click on that, it'll show you that I use a lot of my memory. It's not my hard space. I have 268 megabytes free, so I'm regularly deleting apps on my phone because and you can also see which apps are taking up your memory here. So I can see that the OS takes up some. I have Fitbit, doesn't take up very much. But these are the different apps, so I can see which app I would need to get rid of when I have to. And then there's all these things that you can't get rid of. So that's always good to know too. And memory is not the same as storage space, just to remember that. Okay, now we're going to go into this personal area because this is where you're most liable to be in trouble. So I have my location right now set on. If I have my location on and I take a picture right now, it is going to save that location information on my picture. And when I post my picture, that location information is going to go on that picture. Also right now, because my location is on and I've allowed this, people who are on Facebook can see where I am, Google can see where I am, Maps people can see where I am. So if I turn this off, then nobody can see where I am. But you also will need, if you're going to use your GPS, you have to have your locations turned on for maps. I enjoy having my location turned on for Facebook, but some people don't. So you can show your students and yourself that, yeah, you can turn that all off. There's also this Google location history where you can actually, if you go to, let me see if I can do this for you, timeline, I think it's timeline.google.com. This may scare you or this may make you happy, I don't know. Yeah, here it is. You can actually see your history of where you've been when you have maps turned on, and you can see everything you've done. Let's see if it's going to take me there. It's Google timeline. So here we go. I think this is it. No, it's Google timeline. Yeah, I'm not finding the link, but you'll have to do a Google search for Google Timeline. I'll put it in the chat box there. But let me go back to my phone. Okay, but this location history here is showing you when you've been on Google, and location sharing, showing that I've shared with my husband, which is okay with me. So if you're really scared about it, just turn it off, and then nothing will be imprinted onto your Google. The other thing to look at is security. So it's a really good idea to have your screen locked, to have a pattern on. I also have 3 different fingerprints set up because sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. I have here make passwords visible, but you can turn that off if you like, just so you know. And I think that's all that you need to know on there. And it's very good to know about languages, because if you have students, they're going to have a different language on their phone, and it's going to be really hard to help them unless you change their phones back to English. So you kind of need to know where it is, because you won't be able to read it because it'll be in Chinese or whatever language, and if you're not familiar, you kind of have to have a visual of what it looks like so that you know how to get in there and fix it for them. So that is all about the Android. Is there any questions? I'll move on to iPad. Okay, well, I'm going to try setting the iPad. Gives me a little more trouble. So it might take me a second or two longer to get this set up correctly. So I have to use 2 different programs to do this, and the one I used for the Android was called Vysor, V-Y-S-O-R. And the one that I use for the Apple is Reflector. Both of them are minimally, they're paid programs, but they're very minimal. Means that they don't cost a lot of money. And there's my iPad. So we are being very successful today, which makes me happy. So here's my iPad. Oh, thank you, Melinda, for finding that link to the timeline. Yeah, that's something to look at to see if you like it or not, because it does actually show everywhere you've been and how long you were there, and it has photos. But a friend of mine lost his phone and was able to track it down that way. So he dropped it. He had it on top of his car, and then he took off, and the phone fell on the street, and he was able to watch where the phone went after it fell off the car, and that was the way he found it. Okay, so we're going to go into settings now in the iPad, and we're going to take a look just like we did before of the different settings. So in the iPad, now tell me if the phone is the same, because I don't have a phone. We have right at the beginning, instead of being at the bottom, the About screen is right there at the beginning where you can see all your information, your serial number there, your Wi-Fi address, the model number you have, the version of the system you have, how much space you have left. You have how many photos. I have 165 photos right now, 22 videos, and 65 songs. And here's where you can change the name. So mine is called iPad, but that's kind of a silly name. I could change it to Susan's Great iPad. It's always nice to have a unique name. So you can change the name there. Now it's changed. So that's under your general. Then you have your brightness and display where you can turn your brightness down, which I notice is not changing on the computer screen, but it is changing on my iPad. I have my auto brightness and true tone set. I don't know if you have that on the phone. Then they have this thing called night shift. I don't know what that is, but I don't use it. And then you can change your text size and make it larger if you like, or smaller if you are young, but I generally put it on larger now. And you can make your text bold if you want or not. I'm not restarting my iPad. Okay, so then we're going to go into the general settings. And we're going to look at the battery. Let's find the battery here. Oh, the battery's here, sorry. Once again, you get all kinds of information about your battery. You can see I have my battery percentage, and you can see that my battery is really low right now, so I'm going to need to plug this in pretty soon because my battery is down at 11%. And you can see your usage. And then they have the privacy. And this is where you can turn on and off your location services. So once again, if you don't want people to know where you are and you don't want your photos encrypted, turn off your location services. Then when you want to use your iPad, you can, or your maps, you can just turn it on for maps. It'll ask you need to have location services turned on, and they'll turn it on. Then you can set your location services. So if I'm using the App Store, location services are on, but when I'm on Twitter, you can see it's never on. So when I'm looking for the weather, I always have it on because I figure if I'm looking for weather, I want to know where I am. But for Twitter, I never have it on. And for Google Maps, I always have it on. So you can actually set settings so that it can be on never. I should change that. Maps needs to be on. And it's only used when it turns it off automatically for you. So you can think about that. So the camera says here, my location is turned on while using. I think I'm going to turn that off because I don't want people to know where I am on the camera, but I do need to have it on with the maps. So this is really useful stuff to keep your iPad neat and clean. Here's your notifications. This is the things that pop up on your screen. You can turn those off so that nothing will interrupt your browsing pleasure by turning off all your notifications. And I think that's it as far as the iPad. Do you guys have any questions about anything on your iPad settings to keep yourself safe? Are there any questions you have about security on the iPhone or iPad or Android phone that you might want to ask? Oh, that's a good question, Melinda. If you have Wi-Fi on and you're using your own Wi-Fi hotspot, you're not compromising your security because it's your own personal hotspot. But if you have Wi-Fi on and you're in Starbucks, yes, you are compromising your security. So my suggestion is to really seriously look into a Wi-Fi hotspot. It makes me feel very comfortable. And they're not that expensive. I wish that a lot of schools would purchase them for teachers to use. Yeah, and Diana, as stuff changes, this workshop will also change as well because the security issues come up. There are things that happen all the time that are different. So it's always good to be checking in with this workshop and to make sure that you keep your settings on the right spot. Right, when things are patched, the hackers come back. So that was all the information I wanted to share. If you have any questions, I'm happy to answer them. Maybe we could think of some questions that people who aren't here would want to ask, because oh, thank you, Branka. Can we come up with some questions that some people might want to ask that aren't here? Like, the thing that I often hear people say is that they're so afraid to be online. But I hope I made the point clear that if you're not online, it's more fearful. If you use a browser but not signed into the browser, I mean, you're using it incognito? Is that what you're talking about, Melinda? I think you're safe. Oh, and filling out a form. That's a good question. If you're incognito, you're probably going to... I would think you're safe if you're incognito. What do other things think about that? That's a good question. I think you must be safe if you're incognito. I recommend that people use incognito more than they do private browsing, because you don't really want to be signed in unless you have to be. Okay, I guess I'm going to go back to the PowerPoint and make sure that everybody's had the chance to download the files. And I want to explain something about those files. Okay. Okay, so let me show you what I have here for you. The PowerPoint that I developed is here. I have a whole list of digital literacy resources. Oh, I should probably go over those. Let me show you those resources. Sorry, I should have done that prior to this. It'll take me just a second to get to my screen. Okay. I should have these in my desktop. Yeah, there we go. So I made a list of resources for you. And all the links to all of the books that I showed you. And, oh, one of the things I didn't show you is how to add apps to your home screen. I'll show you that before we leave. And then my contact information so that you can contact me at any time. And let me show you, though, how to add apps. And this is true for both Android and iPhone. Let me just go to the Android real quick. So to add an app, this is really useful if you have students and you want them to go on to your, if you want them to go to the internet. So here I'm going to go somewhere, let's say, I'll go to an app that I want my students, like Edpuzzle. I'll go there. And I want my students to be able to go to this page. Oh, you're not seeing my phone. Hold on. Let me do this. See, now it's going to be buggy. All right, disconnect. Now I have two. Let's take away one. See if it's going to work. Might have to do this. See, I never give up. This is one of the things about me that seems to work. I try every possible method. There we are. Okay, so say you want your students to download this link and have it readily.
Away from your microphone. We're having a hard time hearing you.
Can you hear me now?
You're away from the microphone.
No, I'm not away from the microphone. Can you hear me?
Okay.
Can you hear me okay now?
Maybe it's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyhow, to hit your home screen, what you're going to do is you're going to click on the hamburger over here, and then you're going to see Add to Home Screen. You're going to click on that, and then you're going to call it, give it a name. Oh, sorry. I rotated my phone. Edpuzzle for Students. And I'm going to add it. And now when I go back, you're going to see here there's a little button that says Edpuzzle. I click on it and it's going to open up the link. So the students have they make their own app on the phone this way using a web link. And the same thing is for iPad. Let's see if I can get my iPad back up. I'm very happy with my success here in getting these kinds of things to connect. So with the iPad, let's say we're going to go to the internet. We go to Safari, and we want to go to Edpuzzle. My students, I'm going to go there. And I'm looking for the little share button. Right here, right here. That is where you go for the iPad, which is not as intuitive as I would like. And there you will see the Add to Home Screen button. I'm going to do that. And again, you can add to the name, whatever you want. You can change the name. This would also work if you want students to have a website, like you make them a web page, then you can have them pull up the assignment right like that. It makes a little app. And so there you are. Apps, easy to make apps. Okay, now I think I'm done. So let me go back to the presentation. Share my document. There, I did it. Yay. And the other thing that is really good here is Mr. McDuff. I don't know if you are aware of Mr. McDuff. He was the the dog that we had for dare and drugs and all that stuff. And now he's doing Mind What You Do Online, and he has a kid version and an adult version. So the manual that I've given you there is the adult version. It's quite a hefty manual. It's a PDF. It's quite a few pages. So read it at your leisure. And the last thing that's there is the PowerPoint from today. So what questions do you have for me? Yes, that was him, Diana, but now he's doing internet safety for adults and kids. He's got a special manual for kids too, but I'm happy to see the adult one because we also need internet safety and literacy. Yes.
Susan. Okay, Susan, I'm not seeing any more questions. I'm not seeing any more questions in the chat. Is there anything else you
No,
would
I
like
just
to
want to make
share?
sure everybody's able to download all the resources. So maybe a yes or no on that, and then we're done.
Okay. We have a few people typing now, and they are all saying yes. And the handouts and resources will be posted on the AEBG website along with the recording of this webinar. So everyone will have access to all of these great materials.
Perfect. And I want to thank you all for coming today. And hopefully everybody learned something.
Okay. Yes, thank you, Susan, for this wonderful presentation on digital literacy for safety. And thank you to all of the participants who joined us today. Our next webinar will be next Wednesday. That will be September the 27th, and that will be on successful math transitions. I have posted a link to register for this upcoming webinar as well as other webinars we have in the future. Also, immediately following this presentation, please fill out our online evaluation. It is very important for us to address your technical assistance and professional development needs, as well as provide some feedback to Susan on what you thought about her presentation this afternoon. And Joyce also put in the chat pod that you can contact Susan via the OTAN support page, and that's at support@otan.us. Thank you all so much for joining us this afternoon. Have a great rest of the day.